Hey Rick, good evening.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Hey Rick, how is your health? How is the kid doing?
Much better today.
Okay, that's fine. Good to know.
You know how it goes with the kids. First they get sick, and then you get sick because you gotta be around them, and
I know, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. By the way, what's the age of the kid?
she's two, so she sneezes
Oh,
on everything, touches everything,
oh,
pops on everything.
okay, much little. Yeah, it'll be tough. I know. I can hear her, or it's
Hey,
her. Uh-huh.
yeah, I apologize for the background noise.
That's good. Good to hear little one around us. So we have more PMP candidates there.
Yeah,
Okay, Eric. Eric, we'll give a couple of minutes. Stephen should be joining.
sure.
Okay. Now, how was it, the learning which we had a couple of days? Are you able to relook some content or some of the subject?
Yeah, I got the PMBOK book. I've been going over some of the stuff. I've
Okay.
been really going over the domains,
Okay.
and
Mm-hmm.
the ten knowledge areas. So I
Very
think
good.
I've got those pretty down
That's
pat. Now I just have to fill in the blanks for each of the domains.
okay. That's good. That's good. The first three chapters will be talking about basics of project management. I believe you will spend good time there, first three chapters. Only fourth chapter on the main knowledge area starts on the book.
Okay.
And yeah, I know the book is bit bigger one. It'll be
Yeah,
you need extra energy to lift the book.
yeah.
Okay, okay. You are primarily working on a Scrum methodology in your project. Is that correct, Rick?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We work on
Mm,
we
mm,
work on an iterative rolling basis. It's
okay.
they're 2 week sprints.
Okay,
Um,
great.
so
Mm,
they're only 10 working days, but they have some problems because the development team, um,
mm,
the development team seems like it's continuously overcommitting per
true.
sprint. So there's work that doesn't get finished and then gets carried over. But the company is a little unique because we don't deal with a lot of external stakeholders.
Okay,
We
okay.
we deal mainly with internal stakeholders. We deal
Mm,
sometimes with the external stakeholders, but the things that come down from the external stakeholders are usually in the form of directives for us to implement into the software that we use.
mm,
A lot of them are compliance things, HIPAA regulations, things like that. So it's
yeah,
really our internal stakeholders who drive the software because they are the business, so they dictate what the business needs are.
I understand. I understand. Now, I know this Scrum or Agile, at times, if it is not properly implemented, it takes a good amount of energy of the development team. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we
Listen.
and we try to iterate, different features. We try to, get foundational level development in there so that, the
Mm,
pieces later on can really be plug this piece in here, plug this piece in here. So
Now, one point I understand is sometimes a team doesn't get any rest. It is kind of continuously you keep drilling them, isn't it? Every
yeah,
other day,
yeah,
work, 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 work.
yeah. The good thing for those guys is our entire
Hmm.
IT side of the company is all remote. So they
Oh,
really they really
okay.
get to make their own schedules, and you know So even though they work a lot, it's a relaxed environment for them because they're at home. They're wherever they want to be.
That's true. That's true. In that way, yeah, it is better. But still, you may be having daily stand-up on a particular time where you all have to join.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
I attend stand up every day.
Okay, okay. Just a minute, I'll check out for Stephen. Give me a minute.
Sure.
Eric, Stephen should join in a couple of minutes. He's just running late a little bit.
Okay.
So, yeah, what we'll do is I want to reiterate what we learned in the last 2 days, 2 sessions. That is we learned on stakeholder management and communication management.
Okay.
And in stakeholder management, we understood that we need to collect the list of resources. It could be of individual or it could be of organization who participate in this project and who is going to benefit or is going to be negatively impacted. So what we'll do is I have a short video to show the stakeholder management to recall what we learned. So we will listen through this video once, and then in the meantime, Stephen also will join, and we'll take it on from there to the scope management. So what I'll do,
A stakeholder is any individual, group or organisation with an interest in the project who may or may not be needed in the decision-making process. Stakeholder analysis is a process of systemically collecting and analysing qualitative information to determine whose interests should be taken into account when developing and/or implementing a policy or programme. It is used to identify the key stakeholders based on their attributes, interrelationships and interests related to a given issue, organisation or resource. It should be one of the first steps you take in any project. It aims to identify everyone with a concern or interest who needs to be involved. The process is a four-step process. Firstly, you need to identify your stakeholders. In this stage, you should think about all the people who are affected by your project, who will be influenced or have an interest in its successful or unsuccessful conclusion. Stakeholders can be internal, such as managers, employees, trade union members, or external, like customers or suppliers. Stakeholders can also be primary and secondary. Primary stakeholders define the business and are key to its continuous process, such as customers, suppliers, and employees, while secondary stakeholders are those who could ruin the relationship with the primary stakeholders, such as business partners, competitors, and regulators. The second step is to prioritize your stakeholders. In this stage, we use a power interest grid to classify the level of interest your different stakeholders have in the process or the organization and their power to affect or be affected by it. For example, your boss is likely to have high power and influence over your projects and high interest, whereas your family may have high interest but are unlikely to have power over it. Someone's position on the grid shows you the actions you have to take with them. High power, high interest stakeholders are your key players who should be fully engaged through full communication and consultation. They could be recruited to the project team. Those with high power, less interest are the people you need to keep informed and satisfy, as they are powerful enough to cause problems. Stakeholders with low power and high interest can be useful supporters, so involve them in low-risk areas and consult them on their interest area. Low power, less interest stakeholders are probably the least important. They're not very powerful and they are not as interested in the organisation or project. The third stage is to understand your stakeholders. This stage is knowing more about your stakeholders, and the best way to find this information is to talk to your stakeholders directly. Key questions to help you understand them could be: what interest do they have in the outcome of your work? Is it positive or negative? How are they likely to feel about and react to your project? What is the best way to engage and communicate with them? What motivates them most of all? What information do they want from you, and how do they wish to receive it? What would encourage them to support your project? Who else might be influenced by their opinions? Do these people become stakeholders in their own right? The information gained from your questioning can be added to a Stakeholder Register for quick and easy referencing. Here you will record your assessment of each stakeholder. Things to include are the stakeholders' requirements, their communication needs and frequency, their expectations, their influence on the project's outcome, and their level of interest and power. The Stakeholder Register must be updated when any new stakeholder is identified or any change is observed. This document may contain some sensitive information, therefore its access should be limited. The fourth and final step is to manage your stakeholders. After conducting your stakeholder analysis, the project team can devise an action plan that sustains supporters' interest and commitment and wins round the doubters. Communication and engagement planning should be informed by your findings from the stakeholder analysis.
So Eric, I was trying to pull back the knowledge what we learned in stakeholder. When you went through the book of PMBOK, what was the chapter you were looking into?
I just started in the in the beginning. I didn't go through any of the sections that we covered. I was actually going to save that for tonight.
Okay, fine, great. So, okay, fine. I will just start on with the process sheet and just will discuss about it. And in the meantime, let Stephen join over. So, yeah, this is a process sheet, if we recall it. And this will be in your PMBOK book as well. The sheet which has 5 process groups, right? So, what are the process groups is something like, yeah. Okay. So these are the 5 process groups, just to recall. That is on initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. These 5 processes makes a project to move from one state to another state. How to move? We should have knowledge in 10 areas. The 10 areas are on your left side. The 10 areas, I was keep saying another day also, it is going to be of triple constraint. When we say triple constraint, we have scope as one constraint, schedule as one constraint, and cost as one constraint. So, okay, we have 3 constraints to take a project forward. Triple constraints is important. When you have triple constraint, we put it as a triangle. In this triangle, we have this triple constraint. And apart from this triple constraint, we have another 3 more constraints. Those are the resource, it could be of risk, it could be of quality. So it will be of 3 constraints. So we have, here we have scope, here we have schedule, here we have cost. So this is called triple constraint. In center, you will have quality, and then we have resource, and we have here as risk. So now these 6 are going to be a constraint for the project. Right. So these 6 are constraints for the project. Now, considering these 6 constraints, apart from that, I will say those are the constraints here, like quality, resource, these 2, and plus risk. So the 6 are called constraints. Now, apart from the 6 constraints, we have few more knowledge areas, which is important for a manager, for a leader to understand, to take the project forward. When I say few more, one is going to be of a communication management, and other 2 is going to be of procurement and stakeholder management. So if you accumulate all, so we will have 6 constraints. Along with that, we have 3 more, that is communication, procurement, and stakeholder management. Now, this 9 knowledge areas accumulating together, it is what an ingredient of project management. But that is not all. This 9 is going to make the project management. This 9 putting together in a way called integration management. The integration management is connecting all the dots, what you learned here. So this integration management will connect all these 9 knowledge areas together and make the project happen. As a project manager, we are responsible, or as a leader, we are responsible to connect all this information and all this knowledge together to make a project move forward. It could be of agile methodology, or it could be of traditional methodology. Whatever methodology we use, these 9 items or 9 knowledges are very sufficient and very important for a manager to do. So out of that, what we did in the last 2 sessions are, we learned what actually stakeholders mean and how important a stakeholder in a project, why we have to collect the registry of the stakeholder, and we discussed all this information. After understanding that, we also understood about the communication part. In the sense, after we know whom we are going to work with and who is important in the project, we should also know how to communicate with them. Of course, communication is the lifeblood of the whole project. However, it is, we cannot talk to everyone on an everyday basis. It will eat our time. So we should know in a systematic way and what time and what information to be communicated, whom to be communicated, and what is the frequency of communication. And this communication can be of a verbal communication, non-verbal communication, formal communication, informal communication. And this communication can be of a documents. This communication could be of a deliverables. This communication could be a face-to-face interaction. And it could be of any way where the message is getting clearly conveyed to the team or to the stakeholders, to the sponsors who is going to be showing interest in the project. And this is what we learned in the last two sessions. Now we will move to the next session, next part. I believe Stephen joined. Hey, Stephen, good evening. Okay, I believe Stephen is in mute. Okay. No props, Stephen, just restarted. Hope all good at your side and you are settled for the next session with us. Okay, so we'll move on. I'm listening, just finishing up. Okay, good. Yeah, Stephen and Eric, so we will start for today. So today part is going to be of scope management. So what is scope management? What I'll do, any project needs a requirement to proceed forward. When I say requirement, that is the information which helps a project team to take it forward. Now, I want to talk about this scoping factor. In the scope management, we are going to understand the part of how the scope will be handled, how they collect the requirements. After collecting the requirements, how it is getting refined and tuned, and finally we create the WBS. When you say WBS, it is work breakdown structure. That is, they split or they put slices of the work into pieces, which is manageable. If there is a big project which is going to be of a software which is getting developed for an organization, which is going to take 6 months of task, we cannot just like that take the task and give it to the team. We have to split into pieces. When it is split into pieces, the smaller level it goes on, it is good for the estimation. It is good for handling over to the team. So that part happens in create WBS. That's a core area of the whole process of scope management. In scope management, we will refine the requirement clearly and also make into WBS for future purpose. After doing that, when the work started happening, the deliverable starts coming up, and there'll be a day where we have to watch out two factors, which is called as control scope and validate scope. I'll explain a bit later as we get inside. For now, I'm going to reiterate the flow which I shared at the first day. The flow would be like something like this. From the cloud team, that is, I will say it as a sales team. The sales team would have given you the requirement to start with the project. And after they give the requirement to start the project, it would have come to the charter. After you receive the charter is a very high level description of what we want, very high level. After this, it will pass on to the project team.
Okay, I'm here now.
Hey, Stefan.
I'm sorry I'm late. I don't know. For whatever reason, I was thinking it was at 6 o'clock tonight. And all of a sudden, I had just gotten to the grocery store to get something for dinner. And all of a sudden, I get a call from Sean. And he's like, can you get in the meeting? I'm like, oh, crap. It's at 5, not 6.
Okay. It was 6 Central Time. It should be 5 for you.
I did a bunch of reading out of the PMBOK today anyway. So I'm ahead of the game already.
That's amazing. Okay. Even Eric was opening the book and he's also on track now. That's great. So how is it with the book? You have crossed a few pages and you're able to feel comfortable?
Yeah, I was reading the project was it chapter 13, which was
Stakeholder.
what the hell was it?
Stakeholder
Project management, or the heck is it?
You're right. It should be stakeholder management. Yeah. That's good. And we were just recalling what we learned the other day.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, what I want to do is after we cover a unit, go back and then read the PMBOK on it.
Okay, that's cool. That's good.
So
I know. The more you read on that, you get more comfortable. Mm-hmm. By the way, Eric and Stephen, you are spending little time on writing this process in a sheet to get the hold of the subject.
I've been trying. I'm not gonna
Okay.
lie, I haven't been real good about it yet. But
Okay. Okay. I
I've
noticed.
written it out a few times.
Okay, that's great. So, what I generally recommend for the candidates who go for the examination is keep this sheet in your mind consistently, so that will help you to clear the exam faster and also understand the flow clearly when we go for real management. So, I would recommend people to take a white sheet and replicate what you see here. As a flow, you'll remember really well. Anyways, we'll try that. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to give a flow again to get a grip of what we are learning, and then we get into scope management. So as I was saying that high level, you got the required details, and then you do a develop project management plan. It is called develop project management plan, and it is a collection of all these 9 plans. All these 9 plans will get accumulated here. When I say accumulated, you'll have a scope plan, schedule plan, cost plan, quality plan, resource plan. It goes on, all the plans. After doing that, this particular plan would be shared with the team, and this is the actual work area. You can see the word execution. Execution means there's a human effort here where the team starts working. Okay, the team started working here. And one thing I want to confirm with you in the sense that we cannot imagine that the requirement will be 100% shared with us, then only the work will start. No, that's not the scenario. What will happen is you will get, say, 25% of the requirement from the customer, the stakeholder. For that 25%, we would have done all this stuff of understanding the scope, understanding the schedule, understanding the cost for this 25% of the task. For that, we'll give to the team, and team will start working. When the team started working, we will get another 30% of the requirement. Again, the team will be given with the task to do that. When the 30% of work is happening, another 10% of requirement will come. And this is called adaptive methodology. You will get more work as you go forward. When it is a predictive methodology, they will give you 100% of the work at the first shot. You will get 100% of the first shot to start the work. And you will get the clarity of what need to be done that will be passed to the team. So it depends on the project style, what we choose. But however it is, the team will be prepared enough to start the work as and when we give the design details to them. When the team is doing that work, now the next stage is the team will start giving deliverables. The deliverables will come from this team and go to the quality department. And the quality department will verify it and say it as verified deliverables. What it means is they check against the quality standards. If the quality standards are met, we will take the deliverable to the customer in a place called as validate scope. The aim of validate scope is to check against the acceptance criteria, which we are going to discuss in a few minutes, and that will happen here in the defined scope. Now what's happening here is that deliverables has been checked by your own quality department, that is your organization quality department, and then it will go into the customer, and customer will do something called UAT. Other day, Stephen confirmed it. Yes, they are also doing UAT. I'm sure Eric will do EAT there already. So UAT means user acceptance testing. Once this is done, it's a happy day, and customer says, "Hey, I know I got my apartment, I got my car, I got my particular product." Whatever it is, they feel happy. They say, "Okay," and they release the product, and that will become a close the project. This is the overall high-level flow. However, it is to achieve this, we are going to do a lot of internal processes. And what I will do first thing is, once you receive this high-level charter, that is, whenever you say charter, charter means it's a one-page document, which will have a high-level information about the project, high-level cost of the project, high-level assumptions of the project, high-level risk of the project. Everything will be in this one sheet. And this sheet will be given to the management team, that is a project manager, and manager has to start the work from there. There are some projects which will come with a requirement. The sales team, whenever they give the charter, they give the project needed details also. Some projects. In some projects, you get the requirement ahead. when it comes to you. In some projects, you may not get the requirement at all. So what you have to do is you have to take this high level sheet and start collecting the requirements. So that's where we're going to start now. And that path will happen here. That is scope management. The aim of scope management is to take this charter, which you're going to have here, and start analyzing the requirement in detail. If a company is coming to you asking for a mobile application, something like a Facebook or a WhatsApp, you have to go to them and ask and explain and write it in a document clearly what they want. Every part of the requirement will be collected, clearly elaborated with the term called acceptance criteria. So that is going to happen here. And the aim of this set of processes, after collecting the requirement, and they put into WBS, if you heard about work breakdown structure. I'm sure Stephen should have heard about work breakdown structure.
I've never heard of work breakdown structure.
Oh, okay. Eric, how about you?
No.
No, I heard about it. Okay, fine. Anyway, I'll show what it is. And that is very core of any project management. And I'll explain it very clearly with some of the pictorial representation also. And after collecting the WBS, the work will start moving on. Okay, this is a game. Now what I do, quickly I'll take you to the slide where I'm going to explain it more clear. So back to the slides. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get into scope management. Okay. Whenever we start a chapter, whenever we start a knowledge area in PMP, the first sheet talks about agile and adaptive environment, and it is becoming very evident now. Agile is highly appreciated. Now, what is the first sheet here talking about here is scope. When I say scope, the requirement of the project cannot be collected at the first stage or at the early stage. In the early stage, you cannot collect every requirement at one shot. So now what agile methodology is considering is you may not need to spend a good amount of time in the beginning of the project trying to collect every requirement on the first day. It may not happen. Or even if it happens, when the project is getting delivered, it may not meet the real need of the market. Because if I'm going to give a requirement on a month of February to a team to develop a software, and when they complete by the month of May, and when we take it to the market, it is already outdated. In a sense, every other day the requirements of the market is keep on changing. So what they are recommending is, if there is a project which there is a expectation of high changes going to come, in that scenario, we may not need to collect all the requirements of the first stage. Get the requirement as it is needed and start the work. As we progress further deep inside, need basis, we do little more. If you see here, they do requirement. As a result, the scope, whenever they say scope, the requirement is defined and redefined throughout the project. It means they keep progressively approaching it. What do you mean by progressive here is, you go forward as and when you get the requirement, to get the clarity, move forward. And this progressive approach keep going on. And this page is always given in every knowledge area to show that we can adapt the adaptive way, that is called as agile way, depending on the project style. As I was to give an example of a bridge construction, if there is a massive bridge construction is planned, we may not go for agile way, because in bridge construction, it's very clear that what is the length of the bridge, breadth of the bridge, what is the height, what is the capacity. We know already ahead. So if that is the case, I don't need to worry about the requirement. I will take the full requirement and start my work. If it is a software project, or if it is a different non-software with a lot of changes keep coming on, we would go with agile methodology. So PMP keep it open that take whatever methodology applicable for you, however it is, be clear on how you have to progress it. So that's a point they want to put out. Saying that, I will take it further on. I believe, Eric, this is how it's happened for you when you go for agile way. Is that correct in your project?
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, you get the requirement and do the work, and after 2 3 weeks of timeline, you get further requirement and keep move on. Is that the way it's happening for you?
Yes, sometimes it goes the other way too. Sometimes it goes,
Mm,
we got too many requirements, so
mm,
we need to narrow the scope.
mm.
Otherwise, the work won't be able to be completed in the sprint. But
Perfectly.
then but then they need to look at which work needs to be completed first in order to
Yeah,
complete the work after, you know.
yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. The projects which you're talking on the first day, only 40% of the project gets success, rest 60% get into trouble. And when the team started analyzing it on the project management, what they understood is the 60% of project which are getting trouble are the projects which try to get the requirement in the early stage and try to stick to the same requirement until completion of the project. Why? Because the market is so flexible, the market is volatile, the market is keep on asking new changes, and we may not be in a position to hold the requirement for the whole period of the project. If the project expects changes, we have to accept the changes. So that's where the problem comes over. It depends. It depends on the project. You cannot say every project is that way. There are certain projects which is very clear on the requirement, and that's what expected means. Yes, you have to do that way. You can't keep on changing. Okay, getting back. These are the set of processes which you're going to learn today in scope management. The first one is you're going to collect the requirements. You'll be collecting the requirements from the stakeholders. Understand what actually they want. This you can do with the stakeholder register which we prepared in the previous session. The stakeholder register is a collection of names of people or organization who is going to be part of this project. Now we have to reach them to understand what actually they want. That part will happen in collect requirements. Generally, as a manager, you may not do this, and it will be done by the business analyst in your team. And you will be the point of contact to understand how or what actually being collected here. And the business analyst team will collect it, and it is called as BRD, Business Requirement Documentation, or it can be called as SRS, System Requirement Study, or it can be called as user story when you go to Agile. So now, end of day, this is the what the customer really want from the project. So you're going to collect that. After collecting that, we are going to define it. What we may define, the word define goes by elaborating it. Here, you would have collected some raw information from the stakeholders. Stakeholders give information like that. They will say, I want this, I want that. They will give some hundred of items. We cannot do all the hundred of items. We have to know that which is feasible, which is value addition, which is technically good, and that discussion will happen here in defined scope. We will have our architects, we will have our SME, we will have their SME. When I say their, customer and sponsors SME, they all sit together in a table and they talk about it, what is feasible, what is good for the project, and they clarify it clearly before they start the work. Once this defined scope is done, they'll move to the next stage called as create WBS. Only when you define it very clearly, they start creating the WBS. WBS is a hierarchical representation. They will have a representation of work in a boxed manner. I will show that later point as we get inside. So they'll slice the work into pieces. They'll take the big work and slice into pieces of small work until it get to the level where you can manage it effectively. After this, the team will be given with this package. They call it as work package, and this package will be given to the team to start the work. Now I'll reiterate again. The first thing you got the requirement. The requirement is going to have everything what the customer want for that particular release, and that will be given to the next stage called as a defined scope, where they will elaborate the requirement clearly along with acceptance criteria. It's a very important content called as acceptance criteria. Without that, the project will not move forward. And after the getting all these details, it moves to the WBS, where they put into slices the work which is manageable. Rest 2 I'll explain when we get closer. Now we'll move a little more inside. Okay. I'm going to talk about something called as product scope and project scope. By the way, scope here is requirement. In requirement, we have two criteria. One is product, other one is project. When we say product, it talks about the features and specifications which is expected in the output. So if you see here in this example or in this information, in a banking sector, services like savings accounts and mutual funds are called products. Now, we as a manager or a leader, we should be aware of what is product scope. A product scope will be of explaining the specific features which is expected in the particular outcome of the project. Now, if it is an bridge construction, you will know the height, width, and its capacity as a product scope. If it is a mobile phone, the product scope would be of a size, and it could be of a RAM capacity, it could be of a hardware capacity, and that's all will be a product scope. And this we collect from the customer, this we collect from the end user, this we collect from our key stakeholders. This is called as, it will have a what? It is a what factor. What actually you want in this particular project, that will be the product scope. And if that's the one, now here it will talk about how. Project scope talks about how we are going to do this. In product scope we have what, that is a features. In project scope we have a how. It refers to the work performed to deliver a product or result with the specific features and functions. So in this how part only, you will have the knowledge areas, something like we have schedule management, scope management, or cost management, or you talk about communication management. And this project scope is a responsibility of the manager or the leader to take it forward. And this is responsibility of the customer to give us a clear explanation of what they actually want. So when you know what, it is easy to do how. When this what is not very clear, how will have trouble. That's the primary responsibility of the stakeholder to give the information, and the responsibility of the manager to collect it clearly. Are we good with product and project scope?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, great. We'll move on.
Yeah, makes sense for me too.
What I do is I have a short video to talk about this scoping factor. I will play that video once before we get to further deep inside.
So a company needs to build a large web application, say something like an online banking app. What do? Well, they get in a conference room, and a business analyst interviews future users of the yet-to-be-built application and finds out what they want and what they need. And he gets information. A lot of information. They explain what they want and what they don't want, what they think they need and what they think they don't need, what they don't want to see and what it should look like. And all that information is put into what's called a requirements document. And it's massive. Then a business analyst meets with the suits that run the business and finds out what they want and need. And he gets a whole lot more information. And all of that information is added to the requirements document. Now, once the final version of this document is complete, it's passed back and forth between the analysts and the business execs and the users, while they collectively try to figure out if what's in it is the right thing to build. And while this is happening, each is making their own additions and subtractions. And all of these changes are incorporated back into that massive requirements document, making it nearly impossible to track and understand. And what is the root of the problem? Text is ambiguous. 2 words can mean drastically different things to 2 different people. Now, if just 2 words can be interpreted so differently, imagine 10,000. So the business gets together and decides, based on the requirements document, how much money and time to put toward building the application. So once everything is signed off on, they give the requirements document over to the IT department along with a whole lot of time and money. And it's their job to decipher the document and build the application contained within. So many months and dollars later, the business has their new web application. So they take their newly built app back to the users to see what they think. And guess what? They hate it. Why? Because the business analyst misinterpreted some of what they asked for. The IT department misinterpreted some of what the business analyst asked for. Things they thought they wanted they really don't need, and a bunch of stuff they do need is missing because they didn't know to ask for it, because they didn't know they'd need those things until they had a chance to use the application and find out. And by the way, someone forgot to include a submit button on the change password form. So now the business has to go back and figure out how much more time and money to spend fixing the application. So why did this all happen? Because text is ambiguous, and that huge document is nearly impossible to understand. And if the user can't picture the application, they can't understand it and give accurate feedback. What they need is a way to test drive the application before it's been built. Can you imagine giving feedback on a car before you've driven it? Until you wrapped your hands around the steering wheel and felt how it handled around the turns? Until you know how well the brakes work? Or if they work at all? The reality is, this is a horrible way to define business applications. As is this, and this, and this, or any combination in between. Now, this static screenshot might look better, but the fact is it's flat and non-interactive. You might as well remove all functionality completely because it tells you nothing about how the application will perform. And if the user can't interact with it, it's virtually useless. Now, what if that business analyst had a tool that allowed him to easily create a mirror of the final application before a dime was spent building it? The user could log in and view their account just as they would the final application. They could interact with it and get a feel for how it would perform. They could see how the branch locations page would work, along with all functionality connected to it. And for those users dispersed around the world, what if you could email a version to them which they could test out and add their feedback? And they could even tie feedback to a specific item on the page. And once finished, they're all sent back and imported to the central server. What if there was already an application that was revolutionizing the way?
Okay, did you got any message out of this video?
Yeah, somebody's been following me every day at my job for the last year.
Yeah, and Stephen, how is on your side? Do you get the requirement at one shot and you have to do the work?
Yeah.
Or it will keep changing on?
It's making me think that I don't want to get into software development.
Uh-huh.
It looks like it.
It's it's not all bad. It's not all bad if everybody does their piece, which I'm sure it's the same thing you run into. Once there's one chink in the armor, then the rest of the armor is no good.
Yeah.
Okay. The video is trying to say that see, the misinterpretation happens and the text gets ambiguous. This is not only for one particular domain, it can be any domain. So IT is a domain which is being highly discussed because the fund flow is very high in IT department. If not, I'll tell you, there are a number of projects in the world which are more complicated than software. Because the software is one where you can redo certain things. There are certain projects you can't do the redo process. If
Exactly.
In a bridge construction or in a massive building construction, if a pillar goes wrong, lifetime it's wrong. You can't change anything, right? Whereas in software IT, you can do version 1, version 2, version 3. You can change it. So chances are there. Now, considering the factors, the requirement is always challenged, not now. It's for last 5,000 years, it's always challenge because human is meant of changes. We want more change. We can stick to the same. The previous day, I would have thought tomorrow I'll have a burger for my breakfast. And morning when I wake up, I'll think something different. So you cannot expect someone to stick to that. If one person can't stick to that, when you have a list of stakeholders in your stakeholder register, definitely you can't say that they will stay with the same requirement. They keep changing on. At the same time, market is also keep changing. Technology is changing, taste is changing, and the economic condition is changing. The price fluctuations are changing. Government policies are changing. Considering all these factors, how to take it forward? And now that's the reason they talk about adaptive methodology or hybrid methodology, where you don't try to collect everything at one shot. You take what is possible, what is at present needed, refine it clearly, and move forward. So that's the point which I want to bring up in this particular video. Anyhow, we'll go a little more deep inside as we go, we'll see. The first stage I want to start with the plan scope management process. This I'm pulling from PMBOK. This page you can see in PMBOK book also when you go through that. Now the plan scope management idea here is, let me read this. The plan scope management is a process of creating the scope management plan that documents how. Whenever you go for the, whenever you see the word plan, it will talk about the word how. How the project and product scope will be defined, validated, and controlled. We are going to write it down elaborately so that our team can use it, our stakeholder can understand that how the team is going to analyze the scoping factor. The key benefit here is it is going to provide the guidance and direction on how scope will be managed throughout the project. We are going to write it down, right? So what we do is the first shot, we'll take the project charter. I have made a red mark here to show you that charter is very important because charter will have a high level information about the project. Other day I was giving you a bullet train charter where you and Eric, Stephen and Eric are working on the charter. So that charter will be taken inside. They will also take some of the quality management plan. I'm yet to come to that area. I will explain it later point when we go to the quality knowledge area. And we will have the project life cycle, and we will also have the development approach. And this is very important. The development approach here, it could be of predictive way, adaptive way, or it could be of a hybrid. So we choose which approach we can go for. Middle of the project, you can't change the approach. The approach should be decided when you start the work. If Eric's team is deciding that we will go with a hybrid, you have to decide in the beginning of the project. If it is going to be agile way, think in the beginning of the project. If it is going to be the predictive way, like you get all the requirement, decide in the beginning of the project. Yeah, middle of the project, you can't change something. It will be trouble. Now, considering the factors, and also we have something, two factors, which you, if you can recall it, it is called as EEF and OPA. EEF, which is nothing but organizational process assets, which is the one which talks about the procedures or infrastructure, or it is a government policies around us. And organizational process assets are the one which talks about your company policies, company structure, and internal dependencies, and also the lessons learned of your previous projects. Now, these two are going to be ingredients for you to make some decisions. Now, what's happening here is we are taking the high-level charter detail. We're taking some more information about how the project is going to proceed on, and using the experts in the market, we also find what are the alternate options available, and we can conduct meetings as well. Doing that, the plan gets ready. When I open this plan document and read the document, it will tell how we are going to collect the requirements, how we are going to define it, how I'm going to validate it, how I'm going to control it. Defining is explaining in detail. Validating is once a work is done, it's going to be compared by the stakeholders. And last, controlled is scope can be fluctuating like anything. When the work started happening, your customer will come and ask more when the work is happening. However it is, as a manager, as a leader, we are responsible to keep the things in control. We can't keep on changing. For change, there is a limit for it. Also, change should be reasonable change. So that should be controlled. How am I going to do that? That is also being written down inside this document. Why we write such a document is it is agreed upon deal between the team and the stakeholders to tell them that, hey, this is the process we are going to follow for requirement gathering. So that's what happening here. Let me take further. I just pulled out a sheet. You may not need to read all the line, but just understand that there is something called scope management plan, which is in the real world. How it look like is they will have a little introduction about it. Then they'll have a scope statement about it. And they talk about how the WBS will be done. And they talk about how the project will be verified. And this is a very important line, verifying completion of the project deliverables. When we say we have completed our work and we deliver it to the customer, how they are going to verify it? That's very important, because when you know how they're going to verify it, that is one criteria which will make us to be very clear and specific on project acceptance or project closure. I'll go a little more. That will help you. I'm going to the stage where we're going to collect the requirements. To be very honest, as a manager, as a leader, you may not involve in collection of requirements, but you will have the visibility of it. When I say visibility, when your business analyst team or someone from your group is collecting the real requirements from the stakeholders, you will have a visibility to understand what they're doing there. From the left point, I'll tell you the charter is there. Charter always talks about very high level information that is needed. And the previous slide, we prepared the scope management plan. The scope management plan says how we are going to do this, how we are going to collect the requirements. That will be written down here. And we also have the requirement management plan. Requirement means the scope coming in, how we are going to manage it. And if you remember well, the last session, we spoke about stakeholder engagement plan. Stakeholder is nothing but that people who are interested on this project. And why we are taking all this information here is to understand these are the ingredients important to proceed of collecting the requirements. When I say collecting the requirements, this is the area where you're going to get the real need of the customer. And we also take the organizational process assets. Why we take this here is we have a lessons learned registry record in this particular document. Why we need lessons learned? For example, if I want to do a project A, it could be of a project of infrastructure, or it could be of pharma, it could be of military related project. Whatever project it is, a company where I am performing it, this company would have done the same kind of project a month before, a year before, or 5 years back. I can open the document and read that how actually they do this process, rather reinventing the wheel on my own, which is going to kill my time. So what I do is I go back to my PMO, that is project management office. It will be he or she, and ask the person, hey guys, we are coming with a new project A, and this project is look like relevant with the project which we did 4 years back. Can you guys give me the document? I will verify it and understand how the collection of requirements happened. And the PM will ask you in what way it's going to help you. You can tell that when I see that, I look at the clarity on how to collect it and how to segregate the requirement. And that will be the important input for the program. So that's also will be taken into consideration. Now, taking these inputs, I'm going to talk few tools which is being used for collecting the requirements. If you're aware, there is something called brainstorming through which they collect the requirements. Through interviews, you can collect requirements. They put some of the questionnaires and surveys to collect requirements. When you go to Walmart or when you go to any shopping group, there'll be a set of questionnaires written on in a paper. They ask you to choose A, B, C, or some part. It is nothing but they're trying to collect the requirements from you, what actually you expect. They even get the feedback sheet to you, asking you, hey, do you like this particular shopping mall? Do you really like this particular food served here? Do you really like this particular show here? They're literally trying to collect the requirement from the customer, and that goes into an input. They even look at the benchmark. The benchmark is something like, we know already the standard is set like this. If I'm going to looking out for a BMW vehicle, the BMW already has a benchmark. Over the benchmark, they start adding more requirements. So requirements could be of various form. It is not only a written form, or it is not only the spoken verbal form. It can be of any form, but it depends on the project. If your project needs that requirement, we have to go deep inside and collect the requirements. Or sometimes the requirement comes ahead of prepared. If you see here, there is also something called voting process. Not every requirement will be taken into consideration. Some of the requirements will go for voting. If a group of people says we want this, some other group will say we don't want this. So we have to go for a voting process to understand which one to choose. So again, that's important there. And after you get the requirements, they put the mind mapping and affinity diagram. I will show that more on. Now we take this requirement and group into mind mapping part. And when we do that, we also need something called as interpersonal skills, right? Where we talk about nominal techniques, observations, and conversation. And these are the techniques or methods utilized in collect requirements, where it will help as a leader, as a manager, to drive in front to get the actual product scope. What we're doing here is we are collecting the product scope. I was saying what is product scope earlier. It talks about what. So we have a project scope, which is going to be how. Now, what we are doing in a collect requirement is product scope is what happening here. We are collecting what actually the customer want. And from here on, it will become a project scope. How we are going to do that? So if I tell you here, it is talking product scope, and they collect the requirement documentation. And they also have something called as traceability matrix. What does traceability means? After collecting this requirement, the work will start happening. When the work started happening, we should have a tracing of it. The work came in the month of January and it has some particular need. We should know in the middle of March where the work is. Is it completed? Is it in the progress? Is it in a testing stage? It is being deployed. We should know where is it. For that reason, they have something called traceability matrix. You will see some templates about it. For now, understand the process of collect requirements is you get the details, what actually the customer is looking for, the what factor. So far, we work to understand what actually they want. Only when you know what they want clearly, it is going to help you to take it forward. And most of the leaders and managers have the problem here when they don't understand what actually customers are asking for. It's going to put into trouble. So let's see how this is being done. I was talking about decision making. I'll go back one slide and come again. I was talking about voting. Voting is very important to understand because we cannot expect always a customer will be one person. It will be a group of people, group of organization. And now we should be a little bit clear to talk about voting. It is something decision-making technique. In the decision-making technique, there is a variety of ways. That is 4 ways in that. One is goes on unanimity. When everyone in the group says that, yes, we want this requirement. And if everyone puts a hand up and say that we want the requirement, it goes unanimity. Yes, we say, we'll let it go. Let's go. And the second option goes about majority. In a group, more than 50% of people say that, yes, we want it. If that's the case, it's going to be majority. And the third one goes on plurality, where there will be the largest group, largest block in a group. Say there are 10 people, I will divide it something like this, 4, 3, 3. So I have to choose 4. The team which has a 4 hands up, that will become plurality. I'll repeat again, majority is more than 50%. That is, in a room of 10 people, 6 will become majority. If it is a plurality, in a room of 10 people, 4 will become winning group. Now, if 4 people says that, yes, we want the swimming pool in this particular block, residential block, that is going to be plurality. Autocratic talks about a dictatorship. There is a one person or one set of people decide that we want this, and everybody will take action. I'll give an example of this swimming pool part. There is a residential complex, and you being a manager or a leader for this particular project, and you're collecting the requirements for this residential complex where you have a set of home and set of a play area getting ready. And there is a request coming on, hey, we want a big swimming pool in between this particular play area where the adult as well kids can enjoy. Now, you may not consider that every people who are going to stay in this residential area will say yes for the swimming pool. So now you go for a voting. There is a chance, unanimity, everybody put their hands high, say that yes, we want the swimming pool. Or 50% of people will say the yes. Or it could be of a plurality that 4 people says, no, we don't want a swimming pool. It is very unsafe. Kids are playing around. It's very unsafe. You have to decide based on that. An autocratic, there could be one big shot or big group in that area and say that, yes, we want it. The requirement is something like, it could be a varying thought process. As a leader, we are responsible to understand the feel of the set of stakeholders and then decide on that. So that's why this group decision technique coming up. Why this is being explained here is, in leadership, they expect a leader to be very democratic, to understand from the team for what they actually look out for, rather making decision on their own. If I talk about Agile, in Agile, they have something called the servant leadership concept, where a leader is expected to be a servant for the team and understand their needs and take them forward, right? Yeah, saying that, I'm showing here a traceability matrix. This traceability matrix I explained just few minutes back. It will help you to track the requirement which comes in. If you see here, they have ID number, they have associated ID number. The requirement description will be given here, and they will talk about, I'll talk WBS later. For now, understand that they'll tell where the requirement is now. Is it in design stage? Is it in testing stage? So you have a tracking of it. By the way, this is a template from PMP, PMBOK. Doesn't mean that you have to follow exactly the same. You can customize this template. End of day, you should understand that which project it is and what is the cost center of it, when the requirement came on, and where is it now. Ideally, you're tracking it. If you buy a product, you track it in a mobile app, telling that I ordered it, payment is done, it's been packed, it's on the way, it has reached my destination. So the same way, in your project, we should be able to talk about where the requirement came on, where are we now. It is because you may be doing a project which is 3 months old, or it could be a 6 months duration, or it could be a 1 year duration. You cannot remember everything by your mind, by your brain. You have to record it. It is because the stakeholders will come and ask you, I gave something on the month of February, where is it now? Is it completed or it is half away? We should have a track of it. So that's again a requirement traceability matrix. Have you used it here before, Stephen and Eric, somewhere on traceability matrix?
I've never used anything like that.
Maybe not in this, in this formal of a capacity.
Okay.
But
okay. Yeah. Some are not using it, maybe, or using a different.
Yeah, maybe not on this formal of a capacity, like I was saying, but I've used pieces of this. Yes.
Okay. But I'll tell you, Eric, you're using it. Yeah, if you're using Jira, are you using Jira? How do you track your requirements? You record in a software called Jira, Jira. Is that correct? I think I lost you. You're there? Okay. We will keep moving on. What I'll do, I want to show that define the scope. Now, defining scope is what is. So now what happened here so far in the last few slides are, you have decided the plan, how the requirement going to be collected. And the second stage is you collected the requirements. That is what you have the requirement documentation here. The requirement documentation is an explanation of what the customer actually wants. This could be of 100 pages, 500 pages, like what the video showed to you. It could be a bunch of requirement came from them. And it may not be clearly elaborated. It can be very raw information. Now, what we have to do is, as a team, as a process called define scope, we are going to elaborate it clearly what actually they want. See, if you go to a restaurant, you will first say that, hey, I want to have my breakfast here. I want to have a lunch here. Now the bearer come to you a bit closer and ask you, sir, can you tell me what actually you're looking for? You want to start with this, the item 2, item 3, item 4. They ask more clearly with you. In a sense, they have to serve you. They want to serve you in order. They can't just like that say that, okay, we'll give you. No, it may not work. They have to understand very clearly in detail. Now that in detail part is going to happen in define scope. So you take the plan which you made already, how I'm going to do that, and you have a charter with you to say the high level information. Apart from all, this is very important. That's called requirement documentation, because it is a raw level description about the project, a very, very high level, and also it will be having enough information to take it forward, but not in a clear way. Now, how to make it very clear? We use certain tools. The tools which I presently look out is something called alternative analysis. Customer will ask whatever they want in the project in a very high level, in the sense that they'll say that I want this, I want A, I want B, I want C. Now we have to find what are the alternate ways to achieve it. It could be discussion happening between the team and with the stakeholders, that is the sponsors as well. If they're asking for a particular product, they will ask very open, telling that I wanted the best in the world. Now we have to understand what you mean by best, the costing factor, the technical factors, and the time of availability factor, right? Imagine the customer is asking for a big shopping mall to be done. You got a contract from your big businessman and saying that, hey, can you come out with a shopping mall design for me? And the businessman would ask that put a marble which is from Italy, which you have to import to US and make it happen. And now you can give a suggestion that, hey, you know what? Rather importing from Italy, we have it in US as well, which is a good best marble available here, and that is going to save your cost. That's going to save your time. That's going to give a high quality as well. So the alternate analysis will help to reduce the cost factor to bring the best quality in the market. So this is not only the part which I said, it can be a technical aspect also. We'll understand a lot more. And when we do that, it's also called as product analysis. Here there is something called value engineering. I will explain the next slide. But now understand, value engineering is very highly expected, which will be done by the experts, or we call them as SME, subject matter experts. And these SMEs will discuss about the requirement we collected and understand deep inside and start giving value engineering. Value engineering is giving the best and reducing the cost. And when we do that, that becomes a scope statement. I'll tell the maturity happening here. Initially, you got a charter of a bullet train, and then you collected exactly what the customer want. After collecting the requirements, you do alternate analysis, product analysis, and facilitation. You try to refine it more. You ask n number of questions. You do alternate options. You find what is best in the market. And after doing that, that becomes a scope statement. Scope statement is a refined form of requirement which customer has given. And this statement is the one can be sent as a SOW. If you heard about statement of work, have you heard about statement of work, SOW?
Statement of work. Yes, we've already talked about statement of work, I believe.
Yes, that's right. And that is the refined form of requirement which customer need from us. So that refinement happens here. I will reiterate here. The first stage, the charter comes in. The charter becomes a requirement. Charter is very high level, and later it becomes a requirement from the customer. After requirement comes, we try to refine it here. Once you refine it here, it becomes a scope statement. A scope statement will be a type pack Now I can take this to my team. Until now, I can't take the charter to my team and ask them to do the work. It won't fit in. I can't take my requirements here and give to my team and start the work. No, they can't do it. But now with the scope statement, the team can start the work, because scope statement is a discussion between us and the stakeholders, and to get the clarity what actually they want. And this happened here. I will show something which will explain a little more clear. Right. I was talking about value engineering, where they increase the value and reduce the cost. I was talking about a shopping complex where the customer expects to put Italian marble, and when you are a SME propose that, guys, why you have to import a marble from different country? We have in our country, which is of high quality, and at the same time the cost and price tag can be lesser, and the maintenance is good, and that will be a value engineering example. Where like this, there are a lot more. If there is a requirement to come out with a particular software, it can be of a buy in the market rather doing it on the own. So it's again going to be a value engineering, right? So value engineering is something you keep increasing the value and reduce the cost. At the same time, there is no drop in quality. Quality also should be very high, right? See, we can introduce our own mailing system in the office, but we don't spend time in that. What we do, we go for Microsoft Outlook or we go for Gmail, right? These are the products available in the market, which I pay money and I get the service what I want. If not, I have to create my own emailing system or own way of communicating to the team. Rather, what we do, we buy something best in the market. So this is how the company keep adding value, and they try to reduce the cost with which is best for the market. And that should be done in the requirement what we do. I want to show this page important for you. I'll go back and come again here. Go back. Here I showed you something called scope statement. I said it's very important. And now that scope statement, what it has inside that statement, I'm going to show that now. When you open the scope statement document, it should have these following ingredients inside that. What are they? It should have the product scope description. When I say product, if you remember it is what factor, what actually the customer want, and that will be there. And we'll have some of the deliverables, what we are going to deliver it in the project, that will also be in the document. And we have two important things in the scope statement. One is acceptance criteria, other one is project exclusion. I keep saying to every manager who work with me, telling that if we don't understand the acceptance criteria clearly on the project, that project don't have any path to reach. Definitely it's going to be a failure project. So a person handling a project should first know what is the acceptance criteria. Let's read this. Acceptance criteria, a set of conditions that is required to be met before deliverables are accepted. You have to underline this word, before deliverables are accepted. What it means is, it's something like the customer gives you, when you deliver me back the product from the requirement, it should have action A, B, C. These are to be done. If it is done, I will accept it. If not, it will be rejected. For example, I take my car to service center, car service center, and I'm telling to him that the service guy, you know what, the auto cooling system is not working well, my touch screen in the car is not looking well, and my gearbox giving a lot of noise. Now 3 things are given to him. After 2 days, I'm going to take the car back. Now what I will check before I take my car? Stephen, Eric, I'm putting this point to you. I am taking my car for service center. I'm giving 3 points to the service guy. I'm saying that my auto cooling system is not working well. My touch screen in the car is not working well, and my gearbox is giving a lot of noise. After 2 days, I'm going to service center again. Now, what I will check when the car is delivered to me?
Well, you're going to check, number one, you're going to take it out for a drive, make sure the gearbox is quiet. You're going to make sure the screen works.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you're going to verify that all that needs to be fixed is fixed.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks for saying that, Stefan. And when these three are done, now what will happen is that's called acceptance criteria. Now you will sign the check and hand over to the service center. Now you're saying that, hey, you know what? There is a lot of noise in my seat. Can I tell that when I take the car on the deliverable day? In the service center, I'm saying that, you know what, when I sit over my seat, the seat is not comfortable. It just keep on making a lot of noise. If I tell on the last day, the particular center will tell that, sir, you didn't tell me on the first day. In the first day, you gave only 3 inputs to me. You said that the gearbox is not good and auto cooling system is not good. The touchscreen is not good. And we recorded it as acceptance criteria. And now we also delivered what you asked for. So that is a case. It is before deliverables that's are checked out and then they accept the product. Why I did the point here is acceptance criteria is very important in a project, and many managers don't understand this and they are in trouble. So whenever a customer gives a requirement, we should literally ask them, what do you mean by this? When I give back the product to you, what all make you happy? You want point A, point B, point C? Let me note it down clearly so that when I give it back to you, you will feel comfortable and I will also know that what I have to do and what I have to test. And that's the reason in scope statement, we clearly have the acceptance criteria. Saying that, I will go with the next stage, which is very important. Other one is project exclusions. Now, acceptance criteria talks about what actually to be tested again. Now, exclusions talks about by the word, we should know what all can't be done in this project, what are to be ignored in the project. See, customer gives you 34 items. They will say, I want 34 features to be done. I cannot do all the 34 features as they imagine they're asking for 34 items, features to be done in this project. But we discussed elaborately saying that we will do 28 features which we asked for. When I say features, it could be some specifications about the project. And again, I'm going to ignore you 6 items which I can't do. And 6 items which we can't do, that will be an exclusion. That will be an agreed deal between. It's not only you, it's going to be agreed, right? It should be a deal between both the party. And this is very important because when you know what is acceptance criteria, you should also know what is exclusion. And many managers have trouble in this. They don't get this agreed between the stakeholder. Because a project came in the month of January, when you go and deliver it in the month of May, customer will still imagine about the 34 features. They may not remember what they said they don't want. And we have to record it, get it signed off so that when we deliver the items, we're going to deliver only 28 items. And they'll ask you, where is the rest 6? And you can right away tell them that, guys, we had discussion, this will not be done. And also, your team will have clarity which should not be done. I will just get little back and come again. Little back. Okay. I was talking about requirement documentation here. In this requirement documentation, it will be of 34 features which the customer asked for. When we did analysis here, we understood some items can't be done. Some items can be done. And the scope statement will tell that we'll do 28 items. But the customer gave this in the month of January. When they want to get back the product, they come in the month of May or March. And they will still expect the 34 items, which they don't remember that 6 items has been ignored. And it is our responsibility to understand clearly and record it down. And when you only record it, that is called as exclusions. And that's very important for a project. And many a project have the problem if they don't understand what need to be excluded. And the team will start working on the item which is also excluded. And that will eat your time and money like anything. So as a manager, we should always keep an eye on what's happening in the project. And as a leader, we should always think and look about 2 factors very clear in the project. What is acceptance criteria? What is exclusion? If these 2 things are really maintained well, I'll tell you, we will definitely come under 40% of the successful project. As I seen in my projects, around my projects, I see team get into trouble only when they don't understand what they mean by acceptance criteria, what they mean by exclusions. If these two are handled well, I'll tell you, sure, we are in a successful project. For Eric, when I say acceptance criteria, in Agile, you will use a word called a definition of done, if you have heard about it. And
what was the definition?
no, you in acceptance criteria, in Agile way, we have something called done. Whenever we say something done, it means it meets what the customer is asking for. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I believe you should have heard the word done in your Agile. Have you?
Yes.
Okay. What says done there from your perspective?
In the context of what you have on the screen, or in the context of what I deal with on a daily basis?
Yeah, on your day-to-day basis in the project, you will have something called done. D-O-N-E, done.
Yeah, it's when it's usually related to feature work in the software, and it's when all the when all the criteria from the stakeholders have been met in a deliverable way.
Perfect. Thanks, Eric. That added it. If I put the word again clearly here, when the requirements are met, when it is met, it is acceptance criteria. So you have to write it down clearly what makes them happy. It's the same way you go for a restaurant or a hotel and you start ordering it, and the bearer asks you, sir, you want item number 1 here, item number 2 here, and item number 3 will be the ice creams. So he or she takes order in a way and reconfirms with you, I'm going to serve the food 1, 2, 3, and last will be the ice creams, right? And the same order will be repeated when they serve the food. If the person don't understand the acceptance criteria and bring the ice cream as the first item, you may jump at them. Hey, I asked to bring something warm food for me. Then only I want to go for ice creams. And that is what needed in the project. And this is the first area where to be collected clearly to make the customers feel satisfied. So I want to spend the time here because to make clear that is very crucial for a manager to understand. Scope statement consists of scope description, deliverables, acceptance criteria, and project exclusions, which makes a statement looks very clear what the team has to do, right? Saying that, I will move further on. Now I'm going to, and this screen is going to help you to understand how we have matured. When I say how we have matured, I must keep on talking about something called as project charter. The project charter always have a high level. If you see here, all are high level requirement, high level description, high level risk, and also you see the word called summary. As it is in the beginning of the project, you will get everything at the high level. And now what we have did, how we have matured here is, from the charter, we collected the requirements, and the requirements has become a scope statement. In a scope statement, we'll have acceptance criteria, which we discussed recently, and we'll have the exclusions, which is very important. Apart from that, we'll have deliverables, what are the constraints, what are the assumptions of the project. However it is, in this whole document, I'll tell you these two are very, very important. We should know these factors to take the project forward. And that's a difference here. Now, what's happening here is from the first session to the third session, we are getting matured. From charter, we have been moved to the level where we got the details of the project. Only when you get the details of the product, what the customer want, now you can start your planning. Let's go a little more. I'm taking to the process where we're going to create the WBS. And I heard from you that WBS, you have not seen it. I'll give an idea what it is. WBS means work breakdown structure. The sentence makes very clear that work breakdown structure. You are going to break the work into pieces. For example, this PMP session which we planned is going to be of at least 30 hours of session. But we can't take 30 hours at one shot. What we do, we break into pieces. When I say break into pieces, we think of day 1, day 2, day 3. And in day one also, we don't just like to talk about the content. In day one, we are further divided into pieces. First half an hour we'll talk this. The next 30 minutes we'll talk about this. And we divide into pieces. And this process is called as breakdown structure. We break the big piece of work into pieces which is manageable, which is handled, which can be handled, which can be estimated. And that's called WBS. Let's see how it is done in the project. Now, as we were traveling from a long way from the project charter, now we come to the level of, I'll tell you, we had a project charter really. Then we have requirement document. Now these two, now what happened here is, these two got matured further and that become a scope statement, which you see here. A charter become a requirement, and a requirement become a scope statement. Now scope statement will have two important factors, which I said: acceptance criteria, exclusions, along with the deliverables details. Now we take the scope statement and I'll sit with my team and experts in the market and we'll start working out to create a WBS. How to create a WBS? There is a tool called decomposition. Decomposition is a tool. When I say tool, it is not a tool like a physical tool. It is a tool of thought process. When I say thought process, the experts, the domain experts can take this work which he explained the scope statement and start dividing into pieces. For example, if there is an infrastructure or construction work coming to me, it is a massive bridge construction and they're given a scope statement. And if I'm an expert on the bridge construction, I'll use my experience and start decomposing it. I'll tell them that first start with the pillars, next go with the laying of the road, third going with the lightening of the bridge, then check out the weight of the suspension of the bridge. We'll work out on step by step. And that decomposition is nothing but slicing into pieces. That happens here in Create WBS. When you do that, that will become a scope baseline. I want to put one word very clear here. Whenever you use something you see like a baseline means it is an agreed deal between the project team and the key stakeholders. What do you mean by agreed? When I say agreed means this is a requirement what the customer want, and this is our understanding. The team and the stakeholders or sponsors agree to each other saying that yes, this is what we want, and that happens in this scenario. So I'll come back again. A scope statement will have a project deliverables and description along with acceptance criteria and exclusions. Now that is being taken to the team and they decompose it. And I say decompose it, they put it into pieces. I'll show a picture how they do it. The pieces, and that becomes a scope baseline. Let's see how it look like. Okay, this is a WBS view. When it's a WBS from the top, it's a project, and the project will be divided into phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or it can be more phases. And the further divided into control accounts, and further divided into work packages. I'll show a real example to make it understand more clear. Let's take here a building construction. So if you take a building and the further divided into first floor, second floor, and third floor. And if you watch out here, in the first floor, they have electrical work. Under electrical work, they have lay cables, switches, and electrical points. It is something, the construction is taken here is, as everybody a little aware of construction, it's easy to follow. If you see here, they take a building as one particular work breakdown structure. Under that, they divide into pieces, decompose. Further, the first floor is decomposed into 2. Further, electrical work decomposed into 3 sections. It can even further go down or stop here. Now, what we want to mention here is, your work can be sliced into pieces and it can go further down to the level where it is manageable. Imagine this building is a big a mall, a big shopping complex coming up, and that first floor alone will have a huge amount of work. If you take electrical alone, we have a huge amount of work. So this is one model of dividing the WBS, that is work breakdown structure. it is understandable to Eric and Stephen now what is WBS?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You put it to pieces. Why we put it to pieces is the more you go granular level, it is good to manage. If I know lay cables, it is easy to know that how many square kilometers or square miles I have to lay cables, and what is the quality of the cable, what is the cost of the cable, who is going to work on this cable, when I have to complete the cable. So I start understanding more. What are the things we have to understand here is, I'll tell you, when they do the estimation, they do three estimation here. They have to start understanding the, right? Okay. Now, for any work, we have to understand these three factors. When I say these three factors, it talks about we have to understand the risk, cost of the factor. We have to understand the schedule. We have to understand the resource. When I say a cost, how much it's going to charge to complete this work. And when I talk about cost, I should know the resource needed. When I say resource, it will be of human resource as well material, both. And also I should know the schedule when it can be completed. So these three estimation should happen. I cannot do the estimation just on the understand this label. I mean lay cables. Lay cables will not give estimation. Under lay cables, I should go further deep inside to understand how much of miles or kilometers or could be of size of cable to be laid. Only I know that I should be able to make these three estimations. Now, why we are doing this a scoping factor here is the scoping factor is to first do the estimation to understand how efficiently we can do this. And for that reason, we need this particular decomposition. If I just ask Stephen or Eric, hey, I want a building to be constructed for a shopping mall. Can you tell me how much it will cost? Definitely, you may not able to answer. You will give a very rough value. You will tell it could be $10 million, 1 million. You'll give some value, but that might be the end solution. So we have to go a little deep inside to understand what will be the real cost, what will be the actual cost. So what we do, we decompose into pieces where it will help us to do these three estimations efficiently so that I can handle over the task to my team. If you go to agile way, in agile way, they take the same approach. However, they go in iteration way. They find out next 2 weeks what can be done and how much it will charge and what are the resources needed for that. And they do in that way. That's called adaptive way. However, it is whatever style of the project you go, you should take the project and make it into pieces so that it is easy to handle. Right. So far, it is understandable.
Yep.
Yeah, good. So what we do is we'll complete with this WBS part and we'll take 10 minutes break and then come back to the next learning part. Does it sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll go a little more and complete this part so that we'll move for a break. Okay, when we do the create WBS, it comes to do. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back and show you what we're doing here. In create WBS, we are going to put into, we took the statement, we used the decomposition, and that became the scope baseline. I was putting a word saying that whenever you see something called baseline, it means it's an agreed deal between the project team and the key stakeholders that, hey, this is what we're going to do. And the baseline is a signature between the sponsors, stakeholders with the team, saying that, yes, we agree, this is what the requirement is. Why we need this baseline, why we need a signature is, based on this baseline, I'm going to do some estimation. The estimation could be of cost, schedule, and the resource, three estimations. And only when there is a concrete agreement between the stakeholder, I should be able to do that particular part. If not, when I complete my costing factor, and then again to change the requirement, it won't match well. It'll have a trouble. So that's the reason we understand the requirement clearly and make it as a scope baseline. Let me show you. When we make a scope baseline, A scope baseline will consist of three parameters. What are they is, one is WBS, that is work breakdown structure, which you just saw here. This is called WBS, and that's what here. And each WBS will have something called dictionary. A dictionary will have explanation about, a dictionary will have details about a WBS or work package. Details about a work package is called WBS. Now, how it works? Now again, I'll go back. Okay, I was showing a WBS structure here. A project divided into pieces, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and goes with control accounts. In an example which you saw, a building, under building floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. In floor 1, we saw something on electrical work. Under electrical work, we started seeing the laying cables. This is what we saw in the real example. And when you come to laying cable, we will consider it as a work package. And this is the level where we stop. The work package is something, a module, a set of work which we can give to a team. It is not individual, to a team. So a work package is a level where we stop in WBS, where we can hand over to a team to do the work. And I was giving an example about the laying cable. In software, it could be of database creation, it could be of cloud environment, it could be of designing the web page. So these are called as packages. When you get the packages, right, as you travel from the building, then with the floor, then with a particular system, then it comes a work package. And this work package is very important part where I can start analyzing what should be done. When you analyze it and you have to record it, and that will be added as one more document under this, and that document will be called as WBS dictionary. And WBS dictionary will be part of each one. I'll have one more here, WBS dictionary, right? And for this one, for every package, we'll have one WBS dictionary. What it means is it will explain clearly what this package all about. What is the ingredients needed here? How much of cost it will charge? What is the timeline to complete it? Who will do it? When they will do it? How the testing will happen? These all be written here. So every package will have one WBS dictionary to elaborate it what this package is all about. And that is what you're seeing here. In a scope baseline, you will have a WBS, you will have a WBS dictionary, and have a scope statement. You know that what is scope statement? Scope statement will consist of project description, deliverables, you will have acceptance criteria and exclusion that will be here. And this scope statement is further taken into WBS and it put into pieces using decomposition. Each of the package will have something called as dictionary. A dictionary will be an explanation of each package, what it will do, who will do, what is the charges, and when they will be completed. And this is how a baseline getting done. And this baseline will be shared to the key stakeholders. And this will be given to key stakeholders saying that, guys, this is what we're going to do. And stakeholders will sign it. Once they sign, once they sign signature on that particular document, it says that, okay, fine, this is a work which we are going to do. We will take it forward from here. It doesn't mean that we can't do any changes beyond that. Yes, we can do changes, but provided it should be a constructive change. You can't just like that change 360 degree. Now, point is we have matured from charter. What we did so far is we have first got a charter at a high level. Then we made it as a requirement document. After requirement document, we made it as defined scope, which became a scope statement. After scope statement, it became a WBS. WBS means work breakdown structure. After work breakdown structure, we made it as work package. And now each work package will have something called WBS dictionary. Okay, I'll try to explain here. Now, this is the stages we have moved from top to down. A charter came at a high level, and then it came at a high level. Then we made it as a document collecting from the customer. Then we refined it to the scope statement. After the statement, we put into pieces. It's called as breakdown structure. And then we have work package, that is a lay cable, create WBS, that is actual work to be done. And each work will have an attachment called as dictionary. Nothing but it explains about the work in clarity. And this is what so far we have done in the collection of requirement details. Any questions here, Stephen and Eric?
No, I'm pretty good on this part.
Okay, fine. So what we'll do is we will take a break here. It is, shall we connect in 5-10 minutes? 10 minutes should be good.
Yeah, 10 minutes. Great.
Works.
Okay, we'll take 10 minutes and come back to the listening part. Thanks.
Okay, I'm back.
Hey, I'm back.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
Me too.
thanks, Stefan. Okay, thank you. By the way, I believe it's comfortable there. You're done with your dinner, and I believe it's fine with the time now.
Yeah, I just got my dinner started here, so I'm gonna be kind of running back and forth to the grill here in about 15 minutes.
Okay. How about Eric? Your daughter would have slept already.
Just about. She's just about to go now.
Okay. Let me know if anything later on we want to hold it somewhere. I can hold it up so that you can complete your process.
Okay.
Because I know the evenings are a bit busy evening where you have to settle down. Okay. Fine. Saying that, we'll proceed on, and yeah, we will go a little more on comparing the scoping factor, and we will complete the scope factor for today. Right. So far, what we've did is we have understood the requirement in detail. We understood the process of the scope statement with acceptance criteria and exclusions. We also understood something called as WBS, which is work breakdown structure, where we make the work into pieces that is manageable, that can be made an estimation, and that can be did a scheduling factor on that. When we do that, that process is called as create WBS. The output of create WBS is scope baseline, which you see in the screen now. So the scope baseline talks about three factors. One is WBS, that is work breakdown structure. And it also talks about work breakdown structure dictionary, which explains in detail what this package is all about. And also we have the scope statement with us. The scope statement is a collection of items like project deliverables, acceptance criteria, and exclusion. So tomorrow you go to a new project and you want to see what the project is all about, you can ask them to share you the scope baseline. And when that particular team shares you the baseline, when you open and see the document, you will see these information. And this information will help you to get a grip of the project. You will know what the project is all about, and you will also know what is acceptance criteria. You will also know what is the particular exclusions in the project. You'll understand what is the structure of WBS. So these all you can understand. So either they should have prepared it, or they should be having a different form. However it is, a project should have this kind of structure, which will be very useful to track. Even without this structure, there are projects happening in the world till now. But what PMP saying that is, when you follow this kind of structure, you will fall under the successful project criteria. If not, managing will be a little hard. So what will happen is, on the end of the day, you'll be running here and there to solve issues. Rather, if you have very systematic detail with you, you can be cool enough to do work 8 hours and go back home. If not, you have to work 12 hours, 13 hours to solve the problem. So that's very simple as it is. As I'm seeing with some of the projects where we don't collect the requirements clearly, where we don't have a proper system in place, it may look easy in the beginning. When the work started happening, you will realize that you're spending more energy. Instead of working 6 hours, you'll be working at 12 hours. You will be running yourself, burning the energy, running every day. Every day you can't shoot in the dark, and you'll be in trouble. So this is what PMP is trying to say. So let me move on. And yeah, that is something I brought this image to show you that we are talking here about the scope baseline. This is what we're talking now. Like we're going to have two more baselines, that is a schedule baseline and cost baseline, which we'll see tomorrow and day after tomorrow. So these three are nothing but triple constraints, if you remember it, which falls under scope, schedule, cost. Combining these two together, it will show the performance of a project. Of course, the scope of your project, schedule of the project, cost of the project. These three are the key inputs which shows where your project is, how you are performing. Are they really going well, or are we in a bad position? It explains you well. So that's the idea of putting this particular image to you. Right now, I'm coming back here on validate scope. Now, what I'll do is we shouldn't lose the sight. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show this image. Is this image visible or the font is too small?
No, that's all right.
Okay,
Looks good to me.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, what I'm going to show here. So far, what we're doing here is we did this part till now. We did the scope, collect requirements, define scope, create WBS. So this is what we did so far in scope management. So we are in the horizontal line of scope management. In scope management, we were doing in the planning. This is the planning area. In planning, we were doing the collection of requirements, define scope, create WBS. Now imagine this is completed. Your work package is ready. The next stage you have to do is you have to do the scheduling for this item, what you got. You have to do costing for it. You have to find the resource for it. Imagine this all happening. Once this all happened, your team will start working. This is the area where the team will start working. When the team work up, after team work get completed, it will go to the quality department. And this quality department will verify it. Once they verify it, it will come to validate scope. I have said earlier, validate scope is the place your customer will look at it. What? We have a name for this testing. What's the testing? Can Eric and Stephen help me? What we do here in validate scope?
In validate the scope, you ensure that the scope fits, or that the scope fits for the project and fits for the timeline.
Perfect. What testing is called as? It starts with U.
Was it UTA?
User acceptance.
Yeah.
Or user acceptance.
Acceptance testing. User acceptance testing. Okay. It's called UAT.
That was it. I knew it was something like
that. You are close to that, Stephen. Yeah. UAT. And this is nothing but user. By the word user, you know who is it. It's going to be the end user or customer. It doesn't mean that always your product will go to the end user in the market. It can be a user you pass on, and that user will take it to the end user. You may be an intermediate person. Now, for you, what it is whomever you deliver is user, right? So you deliver to a person A, and this person is a user for you. And when that person confirms it, it's called as user acceptance testing, UAT. And why I'm putting the point here is after you collect the requirements clearly, you do the scheduling for it, cost for it, resource for it, quality for it, and this is all happening, you will give to your team and team will start working. And I'm reiterating the point here, don't expect you will get 100% requirement here. You would have got only 20% of the requirement. Imagine in the requirement sheet here, you got only, just a minute. And you got here only 20% of the requirement. For that 20%, you will do schedule, you will do cost, you will do resource. Once you do that, you will hand over to your team, and your team will start working. The human factor. By the way, okay, this guy looks very thin. Anyway,
he's running. He's running.
Yeah, he's running behind the work. He's running behind the work. So now what's happening here is this person, you're given a work, and this person running and doing the work, and the work will go to quality department, and the quality department will verify it and pass customer. The customer will do the user acceptance testing. Then the product will get closed. You both are clear on this cycle?
Yes.
Yes, great. Now, when this team is working on the 20% of work, you as a manager will be busy with the next 30% of the work. and again another 20% of the work. It will keep going on. That's how the work will get collected. In some project, like as I said, bridge construction or bullet train, they will give 100% at the first shot. You will get all the 100% requirement at the, not 100%, maybe 90%. When you get closer, they'll give another 10% to you. Whereas in software, it will start with only 20%. Software is a way where it will keep on changing. They won't give everything as a first shot. They will give step by step by step by step. Now, why I'm explaining this screen to you is, now I'm going to talk about something called as validate scope. As you got a clarity now, validate scope means UAT, user acceptance testing. When we talk that, we will talk one more which is called as control scope. As a leader, as a manager, you are responsible to keep the things in control, because customer keep on asking for requirements. They will say that, see, in the month of January, they gave some requirement. They gave 34 items. When the work is happening, in between they'll come and ask something. In the end of the project, they'll ask something. When closing the project, they'll ask something. We can't keep on changing. As a manager, we should control the requirement, control the scope. Unnecessary changes, if anything comes out, we have to watch it out. If it is a valid change, yes, we will accept it. If some change is going to derail your project, we shouldn't accept it. We should really discuss about it with our experts in the team, and you will call for it whether to do or not to do. Even the voting will happen there. However it is, I'm going to talk about these two processes called as validate scope and control scope. And validate scope will happen in middle of the project and also in the closing of the project. Right, let me get inside to explain more on it. Right, we are in the validate scope now. Let me read this. Validate scope is a process of formalizing acceptance. The word formalizing acceptance is used here because when the customer verify it and the customer feels comfortable with what you delivered, they will formally signature on the document telling that yes, we received what we want, and that will be completed. I'll take the example of the car which you gave for the service. Once the gearbox is good, and once the auto cooling system is good, and once the touch screen is good, what you will tell to the service center is, formally you will tell them that yes, it's good. How do you do formally? There may be some invoice, there may be some bill, there may be some document which you put a signature telling that, oh yeah, what I asked is done here. I'm happy. I will take the car back home. And that is called completed project. And that's a project because you're given a service center and you ask them to fix certain issues, and that issues is very unique in nature, which is a temporary and which it should be completed. That's the definition of project. So that is done. It will be called as completed work. Now that happens in validate scope. Look at here, control quality is a primary concerned with correctness. See, in control quality, I was showing you that is your internal quality department. They will verify is that working well. I'll take the same car example again. When the car service center, before you go to the service center, there may be one guy in the car center who will drive and check is it working well. And this guy will go inside and watch out the gearbox is good, the auto cooling system is good. They will watch everything. They put a tick mark in the notepad. And this person would have already tested before you go there. And that process is called as control quality. I don't want my customer to test and tell me that there is something not working. Rather, I will have a system in place. You can call it as Six Sigma, ISO standards. It could be any standard you call it on, but that will be tested already before you get inside. And after which only the customer come into picture. But this is a very sensitive area. We have to be very careful. If there is a failure which is not properly identified by your quality department, it will fail in the hands of the customer. I'll tell you, if it fails in the hands of the customer, that will be the worst day in your life, because the customer gives a feedback or customer don't feel comfortable, you won't see the customer back again. And in the internet world now, there is quickly write a review in Google or any internet website, and that will screw your business top to bottom. So it is so important that we have a strong quality department, a strong verification before it goes to customer. And this quality department should have a clarity of acceptance criteria. If you remember really well, 30 minutes back, we talked about acceptance criteria. And that's very important, where the quality department understand the requirement, understand the acceptance criteria, and they test clearly before reach to the customer. Right? Why we go to some branded products these days? It may be buying any food eatable, or it can be any dress, costumes, cloth materials, or it can be a mobile, it can be a watch, it can be shoes, it can be a car. Sometimes we believe on the brand, a top brand. Why we believe on top brand? Because they spend a huge of energy here in this area, because they pump in huge amount of dollars in this area to make sure the product is really, really good when they move out of their showroom, when they move out of their cycle. They make sure it's very good. And that's the reason it's expensive also. They spend huge money on quality in their internal test. They make sure when something comes out of the Audi or BMW or Toyota, and it's going to be the fantastic vehicle in the world. And that is what it is not failing in the hands of customer. The more it doesn't fail in the hands of the customer, the product is called as branded. It's called as a top product in the world, right? And for which you have to spend huge money. And definitely there is a manager like you and me sitting in a Toyota, or could be in a BMW or a Benz showroom or in the center, to understand that what makes the customers happy. They work day and night defining it very clearly, and they're following strictly. Why am I iterating all these points are, in validate scope, you are going to talk to the customer, you're going to present it. As I was saying earlier, the customer can be an external customer or could be even internal customer. Eric was saying that most of his projects are internal. Of course, even if it is internal, it can be person X, person B, or team A, team B. For you, that's the customer. So you should be very clear enough while delivering what they want. Are you delivering what they actually want? So for you, they are the customer. The person receiving from you will take it to the end user, right? So if I take the Google Map will have 15 teams working together. Not every 15 team will talk to the end user. Only the last team will talk to the end user. Rest 14 team will talk to each other internally. But even they do internally, for them, each one is a customer. When a handover from person team A to team B, they have to formally get accepted. Team B to team C, formally get accepted. So this is how things moves on, right? That talks about validate scope. I'll show the process which is being followed in PMP book. This image taken from PMP book to show you that what is process all about. So what I want to show here is, I want to show the scope baseline. If you remember well, this scope baseline consists of, it will have WBS, dictionary, and scope statement, right? This three will be inside this packet called scope baseline. And we need that. Why we need that is, we are going to do the inspection. Inspection is against deliverables. If you see here, you have deliverables, right? And I'll make it here. The deliverables, and this deliverable comes from quality department. Your internal quality department has verified the deliverables, and that's why you have a prefix called verified deliverables. Initially, when the team took the product, once they're done, it is called deliverable. That deliverable will go to your quality department, and your internal quality department check it top to bottom and make it as verified deliverables. Now what happened is, I have WBS with me, dictionary details with me. I also have something called deliverables, that is verified deliverables. Now it is time for my stakeholders, my sponsors, to check, is that really what I want? And that will happen in inspection. By the way, inspection is something looking around, is that really meeting the criteria? What is the criteria? The criteria will be inside this scope statement. If you remember well, inside the scope statement, we written something called acceptance criteria. When we were beginning the project, when we're beginning the module, when we're beginning this iteration in Agile, we have written something called acceptance criteria. Now I have the acceptance criteria, I have the verified deliverables, my customer, end user will take and check it.
When I say check it, they literally look each part of it. Like, how do you do the car? Stephen was saying that I will take the car, drive, and watch out, is there any gearbox noise coming up there? That is nothing but inspection. Now, when Stephen do the inspection, if there is a problem in that, Stephen will say that, no, I'm not happy. And that will become a change request. Now, what will happen is if the Stephen is not happy with the gearbox, that will become a change request. And if Stephen feels comfortable, the car is good, the gearbox is good, the auto cooling system is good, touchscreen is good, it will become an accepted deliverables. All right. Now, what happened is you took the scope. I'm rewriting the full process now here. We have a scope baseline, which has WBS, dictionary, and scope statement. And we also have verified deliverables. That is came from the quality department when the internal team tested it. And your customer is verifying it, driving the car, looking at the residential complex, looking at the software. It could be something which you ask a new product in the market. You look at every product step by step, whatever you asked as an acceptance criteria. If you're happy, that's accepted deliverables. If you're unhappy, it goes to a change request, right? The change request here goes off on two variety of change requests we will have. One is process change. Other one is product change. A change request can be off. A change request can be of process change or product change. Anything can be here. If Stephen is not happy with the gearbox system, and that will become a product change. In the product feature, which need to be properly done, it's not done. So it's a product change. And when Stephen goes to receive the product, the way it was working, the process followed was not really comfortable. That will become a process change. I'll explain more closer when we get there. But now understand that there is something called process change and product change when you talk about change request. Now, when I look at this picture, I should understand that the customer is inspecting my product when it is being delivered. It could be a final product or it could be an interim deliverable. Don't expect the customer will come only on the last day. The customer can come in the middle of the deliverable also. I'll take again Stephen example. He's one fine day, he given a car for service, it will take 3 days of time. By chance, he's walking towards the service center for some other purpose. Now he enters the service center, asks them, hey guys, you know what? Yesterday I gave my car, how is it going? And the service guy will say that, sir, you are supposed to come 3 days later. Yeah, I know. I just came on to see what's happening. And this guy will tell, yes, sir, we are working on the cooling system. If you want to see, you can check it. And Stephen will walk inside the showroom place or a service place and look at the car and they check out the cooling system and it's working good. And that could be interim deliverable. Now Stephen agree that, oh yeah, it's good. So now already you tested one part. 3 acceptance criteria are there, out of which 1 has been already confirmed. It's good. I'm just putting an example of this car. It could be a software which you go release by release. You give release 1 on month of January, release 2 at the month of February, release 3 at the middle of March. Now every time the customer will check it and say it's good. So that's going to be of interim deliverables, right? So whatever it is, a deliverable could be a final or it could be interim, and the inspection will happen. These points are a little clear to Stephen and Eric.
That's clear. Yeah, I get that. I'm good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, again, I use parts of this in my everyday job.
Oh, okay, really? Oh. Can you throw some examples so that we'll also see that in real world? How you do in real world now?
Well, I mean, it would be in terms of feature work, but the feature work goes through this entire process where you have the initial feature work and it's done. Does it meet the initial scoping and the initial requirements? Yes. Does it pass QA testing? Yes, but QA has concerns, so QA sends those concerns back. Change the scope of the feature, change the scope of the product.
Okay, great. Right, good. When you say QA, that is the internal quality department who verify the product, what to be delivered, right? Okay, great. Thanks, Eric, for sharing that part.
Yeah.
How do you see it, Stephen, from your side? You do have such kind of flow happening in your work, which happening there.
I have the flow, but it's a lot different than. It's different than the way Eric is. I've got the same basic steps.
Okay.
But it's just different because the stuff we're doing is more cut and dry.
Okay.
So we're not doing the, I don't have a customer coming to me and saying, I need this thing to do this, and this. I'm handed a packet, and then they basically tell me, when you're done, this is what it has to do. And we build the site accordingly, and we go through all the the process. And I guess a process change would be, like I'd said one other time, if we run into a snag or something isn't as it should be with the site, that's kind of where I'm running into a process change. A lot of times the process changes. Well, that's not actually true. They come from both sides. They come from are generated on the customer side. But then at the same time, I may have an issue where I can't do what they're asking because of something that's outside my control.
Yeah, could be.
And then we go through the same, the validation, all the inspection, the inspection is all done through, we do all that. We do that with the customer online.
Okay.
And yes, I mean, everything we're going through is it's all the same, but it's different at the same time. It's basically what it is.
Yeah, got you. Pretty much closer. I know.
Yeah, what Eric deals with, as far as what Eric, from what I'm gathering, from what Eric deals with on a daily basis in his project management job, is quite a bit is significantly different than what I deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
So we're ultimately, it's what we're doing is the same thing, but it's
timing will differ, and time difference will be there. When it's a time difference, a duration when you do that process. But at the end of the day, we'll do same thing in a different naming. The name will be different, but at the end of the day, see, it's something like this, right? We go to a store and we want to buy something. We are the customer, and the person who is going to deliver is going to be a project manager there. And this guy asks you, sir, what do you want? I want this item, note it down and give you the items. It's as simple only when two people are there. If it is more number of people and more number of money, more number of time involved, we need such processes in place to keep things intact. Right. Thanks for sharing that examples, Stephen and Eric. I appreciate it. Right. And let's move a little more. As I was showing the screen to you, why I spend good time here is we should understand as a leader, as a manager, customer is very important in our project. And in Agile, the first term talks about customer satisfaction. Not only in Agile, any business or project, if you go, customer satisfaction is very important. And if that's not going to happen and the project is in, it's going to be really trouble. So what it makes customer happy is something you have to deliver what they ask for. They don't want to overdo anything. They want what they ask for. Just give them what they ask for. They'll be very happy about it. Now, how to make sure we deliver what they want is by understanding the scope baseline. In the sense I was talking about here, the baseline. We should be very clear enough what they want and when they want and the acceptance criteria. When we're very clear on this, definitely the quality team can check clearly the deliverable also. And later it goes to inspection. From inspection, it becomes a accepted deliverables. But however, there are chances that it can become a change request also. You can't expect every day the customer will say happy. There may be certain scenario, they will tell, hey, no, this is not we want something different or something wrong there. So we have to make corrections accordingly. When we do that, how to do the corrections or how to know that we are not done or we are done really well. Now for that, we have some input parameters. One of the input is work performance data. If you really remember it well, and this talks about actuals, right? Actuals of the project. It will talk about there currently what's happening in the project. It's a data which explains the actuals. how much of work has been completed, what we have done, and how much of test cases have been completed. These all be explained here. Only when we have this information, I mean the actuals, that is work performance data, we will be in a position to make a decision for the project, and the decision will happen. That will happen here. When you talk about here, it is work performance information. This is for decision making, right? So when we know the actual, we could make a decision. When I say actual, it could be in the 5 days, Monday to Friday, whatever you work you did. I believe Eric or yeah, should be Eric. You'll be marking something called charge code. Do you mark charge code every week saying that this is the work I completed?
No,
I mean,
I don't do that piece.
okay. As you are remotely connected, maybe you don't need to do that. But actually, when you're on a corporate, when you're an organization, they'll expect you to fill at least 40 hours of work. When I say 40 hours, it will be something like 8 hours per day into 5 days. It will become 40 hours, so that they can calculate per hour dollar. Per hour, they imagine they're putting $150 for you. $150 for you. They'll put some value for it. Now, point here is we should know that this is for you. Imagine there are some 10 resources in your organization. 10 resources into 8 hours per day, and it'll be 5 days, and they get some value, right? So this is number is going to be, it's not only number, and this number shows that how much of work has been progressed. Because in scope baseline, we clearly mentioned that the work should be done in 2 months or 3 months of timeline will be calculated. Anyway, we'll talk about this in schedule management. For now, understand that we know how much of work to be done, and the work performance data will give the clarity how much of work has been completed. When I say 2 people worked for 1 week, it is almost 80 hours of work done. 80 hours of work done means that will give me a clarity how much we have moved from position A to position B, right? And that will help me to make a decision here, and that's called work performance information, the decision making. Here, work performance data is actuals. Work performance information is for taking decision. So based on things happening around in the project, I will know where I am going, what I have to do. Now, why that's being discussed in validate scope is, validate scope is a continuous process, and it may not happen only the last day of the project. It is a continuous process. You keep looking at what's being delivered. Are we delivering what customer want? How we are progressing? If any corrections needed, we have to call for a change request. That's also is here, right? Now, the goal of validate scope is to really see, are we progressing in the right direction? And are we really delivering what customer want? If we are delivering, that will be checked by the customer. And this is the one of the point where we meet the customer. The customer can be an end user, or it could be your internal department. There are 2 places you meet your customer. I will go back. In 2 places you will meet your customer. One place is that you will meet the person in, sorry. Okay. You will meet the person, your customer. One is that collection of requirements. Here, there is a chance you meet the customer to understand what actually they want. And other places you'll meet here. That is validate scope, which you're seeing now. And here you got the requirement, here you're delivering it. Rest all could be of your team members. If you see all these places, all be team members will be working on. But this is a place you will have a customer discussing with you what they want. And this is a place you will deliver it. And don't expect that requirement collection happens 6 months back and we deliver it after that. No, it may not be the case. You collect the requirement within 2 weeks, you'll give something to them. Within 4 weeks, you'll give something to them. The customer will be consistently in touch with you. This is for deliverables. Beyond that, we learned something communication management other day. In communication management, we will consistently be in touch with the stakeholders. After collecting the requirements, the work started happening. I have to keep my stakeholder consistently informed how much of work has been completed, where I'm doing, what I'm doing. Now, if I book any material online or any product online, say I'm taking example of for Amazon. I'm buying something online in Amazon. Amazon, I met my Amazon over the online, which I buy something. The moment I buy something, they don't keep quiet. They keep sending email to me. They're sending messages to me to keep me informed that what is the status of the deliverable, when it will be done, who will do it, right? And even they give the price tag, what it is, and what is the billing charge happened, everything being communicated. So until you receive the product, the first 4 days or 5 days of the time when it is traveling towards you, you keep on getting messages, you keep on getting text, you keep on getting emails saying that what is the status. And that is what very important in management. You have to keep your stakeholders consistently informed on what's happening. Or if any changes happening or any changes are expected, we have to be in connection with them. So that's the goal of the process of validate scope. Now I'm going to take you to the next stage, which is called as control scope, which is ideally to keep things intact. I'll show what it is. Okay, I'm showing a flow here. I know I have showed the flow already in the different chart for you to keep you informed. And let's see how we are connecting here. If you see here, this is called direct and manage project work. This will come in the vertical called execution. We have 5 verticals, which is on initiation, planning, executing, monitor and control. Okay, we have initiation, we have planning, we have execution, we have monitor and control, we have closing. Okay, so this is a 5 process groups. In this 5 process groups, you will get direct and manage in execution after the planning. Okay, and now if you see, control quality will come in monitor and control. Okay, after the work is done, the deliverables, if you watch out this word, deliverables, getting passed to control quality. In control quality, they will check out, this is your team will check it. They check it, they make it as verified deliverables. It means the product is good to take to the customer. And it goes to validate scope. Validate scope is also in monitor and control. Okay, after checking internally, you go for UAT. I was saying already to you, it's called user acceptance testing. It happens here. Once this happens, the next stage is it will move to accepted deliverables, which is in closing phase, right? This closing phase comes over, closing phase. This is a cycle of overall project management at the highest level. I'm talking very high level. And what happened here is you have a project, you have execution happens, deliverable comes out, quality, validate scope, and accepted deliverables goes to close of the project. When you close the project, you release a final product. You will tell to the customer, hey, this is what we want to give to you. It can be a product or it can be a service, right? I will put the point again, why product and service? If you remember well, the first day I was saying that service could be of something which you get from someone. For example, if I'm going and staying in a hotel for 3 days, and when I enter the hotel, there'll be a service manager, and this manager will welcome me, greet me, hey Sri, thanks for coming over here, and I'll be your manager helping you stay in this resort or a hotel. And the 4 days I'm going to stay there, it's a project. It has a definite start and definite end. Even though the hotel has met n number of people in their life, when I go there, it's new for them. So this project is unique in nature. It is a temporary, and it's going to give me service. After staying 4 days in the resort or a hotel, last day I'll say thanks and walk out to the hotel. Now the project ends there, and the hotel has given me good service for which I'm going to pay money back to them. So this is again the final product or final service which is being rendered to the customer. So this is how the project flow works. So what I do, I'll take to the next screen. Now I'm going to talk about control scope. This is the last process in the scope management. Why control scope is needed? First thing, when I say why, there is a good possibility that the requirement will get deviated. What we thought is not will happen on the table. On the table, it will go in a different direction. So now, as a manager, as a leader, we are responsible always to keep an eye on what's happening. Is it really going in a way we want?
If not, we have to bring them back on track. How to bring them on track? For that, first let's understand certain factors. What we do is we took the scope baseline. Now you know what scope baseline will have. Scope baseline will have WBS dictionary, and also it has scope statement, right? It will be having this 3 items inside this. I also have the measurements. The measurements talk about, the measurements will have, it'll have 3 baselines. It'll have scope baseline, it'll have cost baseline, it'll have schedule baseline, 3 baselines. Now I will see what is being planned. Baselines talks about what I am doing currently, and there is something called work performance data. I keep saying that work performance data is actuals of the team, what is currently happening. When you have all this information, I start doing variance analysis. Now variance will compare the information what we got against the plan what we have. This is the plan and this is the actuals. The variance will compare both. Is that really going in a way what we want? Scope says that it should be a particular design of the building. The scope says that the building should be having 5 floors and 25 rooms, and the color of the building should be something like this. When the actual team effort is being verified, the team is working in a different floor and it is working in a different color. So now I see some variance in what is asked and what is being delivered. When there is a variance on that, it will become a change request, asking them to make change that, guys, you are not following what we thought earlier. So it could be a process change or it could be a product change. Change can be of process or product change. And under that subclass is change can be of corrective action, preventive action, defect repair. Okay, so changes fall into this category. Changes can be a process change or could be a product change. If it is a change on this both, it can be a corrective action, preventive action, or defect repair. Now, when we see a variance like this, what asked, are we doing the same? That we know through work performance data. If it's not there, we do the variance analysis and find some missing part is there, then it becomes a change request. If there is no missing part, things are good also, it can go become a information, right? This work performance information is nothing but shows stats and information to make a decision. I can make a decision, it's going really good, no need to touch anything. If something wrong, we have to intimate to the stakeholders. Now, point to be conveyed here in the screen here is, there is something called scope baseline, which is having clear description of what work to be done, who will do it, what are the ingredients of it, everything is there. Also, we have something called measurement baseline, which talks about how we are progressing. And we have something called work performance data, that is the actuals of the teamwork. When we compare what we thought and what we are doing now, it's called variance analysis. When we do it, it could be a good message or it could be a bad message. So if it is a bad thing, we have to do the process change or a product change. Changes can be of corrective action, preventive action, defect repair. And that leads to some of the changes here. I said 3 baselines here. Those 3 baselines will have some changes coming up. I'll recall you, a baseline is an agreed upon deal between the project team and the key stakeholders, telling that we will do this requirement in this timeline, in this cost. So that's what the baseline talks about. Now, in which scenario the control scope will be very important is, there are chances that the team members get deviated with the requirement. The way they understood could be wrong, or your business analyst, when they explained it, have not explained in a way it is to be done. So there are chances that mistakes can happen. And if you are aware of something called as scope creep, have Stephen or Eric heard about this statement called scope creep? Eric, have you heard about scope creep in your project?
Okay. Okay. Stephen, have you heard of scope creep in your project before?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was checking my dinner, making sure my dinner wasn't burning.
Okay. I was just asking, have you heard about the scope creep in your project?
Scope creep. I'm assuming that's going to be something where the scope just kind of slowly changes and morphs.
Perfect. Yes.
Yes,
Uh,
I deal with that
yeah.
on just about a regular basis.
Oh yeah, every project will have this trouble saying that the requirement what given earlier may not happen the same way. They
Yep.
keep changing on, right? But as a manager, as a leader of the project, we should have an eye on be watchful that it shouldn't change too much, which can derail the project. So we have to keep a watch of it and make things in control, and that will happen in control scope. That's great. So we'll move on. Okay, I think we explained this part. Let me get there. Okay, when you go to scope creep, when the scope changes keep on, which goes out of control, we will have a time and cost shooting up very higher. Of course, it will, because as we keep changing the requirement, definitely it will hit the time factor. Instead of delivering it in a couple of weeks, it could drag to at least 4 weeks to 5 weeks of timeline. If you drag further on, definitely it will hit the cost factors also. So always you should be watchful that it doesn't hit the whole system. So that's very important part of being a leader. Right. Okay. I think we have learned through the process of collecting the requirements, defining the scope, and creating the WBS. And we also learned through the process of validate scope and control scope. So what we'll do here is we'll understand a little bit about by through questions. So try reading the question and answer it. I believe Eric is back. Eric can listen through.
Yeah, I'm here.
Fantastic. Please try the question.
I think I'm going to go with C.
Yeah, that was my inclination too.
Okay, well, which is coming up? I didn't miss it. Sorry.
I think
C.
it's C.
First question.
C.
For first question, yeah.
Yeah, C like chart.
Activities. Okay, let me try to rephrase it again. Okay. See, the whole question, the question comes up in the last sentence. They're asking about the most valuable results of WBS. In the sense, they're trying to understand what is the value of WBS. I know through WBS you have to get the activities. I agree on it from both of you, but they're asking the value of the WBS in the sense. I will read the sentence first again. A new project manager has asked you to use for advice on creating the work breakdown structure. After you explain the process to her, she asks you what software she should use for create WBS. Okay, this is a very important point. What software? We don't have any software to create WBS. And what she should do with it when it is completed. Software is there, but still it may not give the exact answer. Now, what is the most valuable thing here is in WBS creation, you will involve the team to talk about how the work should be decomposed, how the work should be sliced into pieces. Now, generally, it will be a team discussion when we do the WBS. If it is a team discussion, and it can be called as team buy-in. The most valuable result of a WBS will be team buy-in. And for your information, in WBS, we will not have activities. Activities is next stage. In WBS, you'll have only work package. We'll stop at work package. Laying cables is a work package. We'll stop there. We will not talk about activities in which room the cable will be laid. What is the distance it will be laid? Those activities we won't talk about it now in WBS. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So can we try the next question?
Which of the following does not describe how far to decompose the work? Not subdivided further. Going with B.
I'm gonna go with A.
Until it has a meaningful conclusion. Okay. Okay. Stephen, can you give a justification for the B so that we'll understand it?
I went with B because it's saying, you know, you're breaking down the work into smaller pieces. Which of the following does not describe how far to decompose the work?
Yeah.
So how far do you want to go to break down that work? You know, until it has a meaningful conclusion. Well, yeah. But to me, until it cannot be logically subdivided any further.
Okay.
And you don't necessarily have to break it down into the absolute smallest piece. I guess that was where I was thinking. Is you know, it can be logically completed by one person. You know, okay.
Right.
Just, I don't know.
Okay. Your guess is going well. Yeah. Eric, can you go ahead? Because the question says which of the following does not describe. Okay, they use the sentence here, does not describe how far to decompose a work. Okay. Eric, what is the justification behind your answer?
Well, I mean, not all work can be, not all work is going to have a meaningful conclusion. You know, some pieces are going to be reliant upon other pieces to come in. So it may not necessarily need to be decomposed to a meaningful conclusion.
Okay. But it is asking which of the following does not describe. Okay. Park this question. Now we'll have these two answers. Out of this, we have one right answer. We'll park it. Then we'll see the next question and go for the answers and see what they say.
Project manager may use blank to make sure each of the work packages is dictionary.
There's one more option and I can't see it because the screen's cut off.
Oh, you can't see that?
I can see letter D, option D.
Oh, okay.
Product scope. What would it be again?
I was talking about a work package. In work package, I was saying that something which adds information about the work package. Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with what's option D? What's
the schedule? Option says the schedule D. D is not visible for you, right?
Yeah, but it's not D. I'm gonna go with C.
You nailed it.
I chose. Is it C? I was gonna choose B on that one.
Okay, I'll give information on this. A project manager may use dash to make sure the team members clearly know. The sentence here is clearly known. When I say clearly, it is elaborated clearly. Okay. Now, what's happening here is clearly known in each work package. What happened is we put something called WBS. We put a boxes like this earlier. Okay, this is a decomposition. For each WBS, we also had something called dictionary, if you're aware of it. Each package will have a dictionary. And a package is a lay cable, a package is a switches, a package is a data administration software, and it will have a dictionary. And in that dictionary, it will have clearly detailed what needs to be done in the package. Right? So if that is the case, shall we go with the C? Yeah, should go. Now I'll keep these answers let's see the answers of this second question so that we'll get more clarity. Okay, here it goes.
BCC.
Yeah, so BCC, we'll come back again. Here, team buy-in is very important. Okay, now in this question, answer is C. Why it is C is, where we lost it is, which of the following does not describe. Okay, what it means is until it can be done by one person. In work package,
yeah, that doesn't really describe it. That just means it can be done by one person.
yeah, we don't do that in WBS. WBS, we don't talk about until the one person level. We'll talk only at the level of logical division. So this will be the answer because it just does not describe. What you both were saying is a meaningful answer. I agree on it, but the question is does not. And when you come to the next one, C. C is a dictionary. It is because clearly known in work package. So that's the reason it goes to C. Does it make sense?
Yes, now it does.
Okay. Okay. This has explanation also here. If you see here, the lowest level of WBS is a work package, which can be completed by more than one person. If you see that. The other choice or aspect of a work package. Other choices are correct choices, but this is the one does not describe because work package can be done by more than one person. It's a module. Let me try one more set of questions. Can you watch out these questions? Okay, something coming up. Sure. Sure, Stephen, please carry on.
The scope baseline.
First one.
Yeah,
The development of the scope baseline can best be described as involving. You want to involve who?
I'm gonna lean towards. I'm stuck between B and C, but I'm gonna lean towards.
Almost you're closer.
I'm gonna lean towards C. I'm gonna lean towards C because the stakeholders really provide the requirements that don't define the scope.
I agree. But one thing here, when you say all stakeholder, we have to be a bit careful about the keyword all. Because in stakeholders, we have both positive and negative, right? Do you think your negative stakeholder will be happy giving scope description to you?
No.
No. So if that is the case, so probably we have to look out.
B.
Yeah, you nailed it. Perfect.
Okay.
Good. So we'll go to the next question.
Which of the following is an output of the collect requirements process?
This is going to be slightly tougher for you because it's purely of the inputs, tools, and techniques. Just give a guesswork. It will be tough for you. This is
an output of collect requirement process.
You collect the requirements, and there'll be something very important behind that.
Would it be the traceability matrix?
Oh man, you got it. How do you did that? Okay. Well, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
well, I mean, because then from the traceability matrix, you cascade down to the next steps.
Yes, you're right. You got it.
Okay.
You got it. Perfect. And this is slightly different in the sense of talking about how the project is performing.
The cost performance index on the project is 1.13 and the benefit to cost ratio is 1.2. The project scope was created by the team and stakeholders. Requirements have been changing throughout the project. No matter what the project manager has tried to accomplish managing the project. Which of the following is he most likely to face in the future? Again, I can't see the last option.
Last one, why it's going
Yeah,
on? Let me check. It shouldn't be hiding for you. I'm right. I'll try to push it out. By now, is there anything helping you to see the bottom line?
What does it say? Does it say having to add resources to the project?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so
okay, I'll try to understand the question here. Here, see, requirement have been changing throughout the project. Throughout the project, the requirement keep on changing. Okay, when a project has a continuous requirement change, what will be the situation? What will be the future of it?
I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards D. Because it's.
Eric, give me just a few seconds. Someone at the door. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
So what answer you look at, Eric, here?
I'm stuck between A and D.
A and D. Okay. A has having to cut cost on the project and increase benefit. Having to add resource to the project. Okay, I will tell you one thing. Maybe you may not be aware of this part because you had to come to this level. It is called CPI. CPI is cost performance index of a project. When we say 1.13, it means when $1 has been given to the team is giving back $1.13. That is, the team is really doing good job. And the benefit is 1.2. The benefit wise, we are good in shape. But the problem happening here is the requirement will keep on changing. Okay. And what the question is asking is, which of the following is he most likely to face? When I say he, it may be you. Most likely to face in future. They're asking, the question is, what will be your future if the requirement is keep on changing? If that is the case, we may not able to say we will add resource to the project, right? We don't know what change it is. So without knowing the change, you can't say you will say which resource will add. And having to cut cost on the project and increase the benefit. Okay. It may not suit because we are already doing well.
If I give you $1, you're giving me $1.13. So it means you are doing a really good job. So I may not go with A and I may not go with D also. Now, where the answer can happen is you will not be able to measure completion of the product of the project, because as they keep on changing some requirement, how you will measure the completion? There'll be a problem in measuring the completion. That could be the future of this project. Does it make sense?
Yeah, now it does.
Okay, great. Great. I believe Eric is listening. So what I'll do is I will just show what the answer is expected here. So we have answers as B, A, and C. Probably once you relook at this video and the content, you will get to read the answers here clearly. For now, understand B, A, C. I will show what it is. B, the project team. Exactly, you nailed it as traceability matrix. Amazing. And C talks about not being able to measure. Why not being able to measure? Because requirements are changing continuously. They're asking what is the future. If they keep on changing the requirement, the future is questionable. So that's why we stop. Right? Cool. So
keep moving the goalposts. You're never going to finish.
Hey, here. Okay, great. Okay, great. So we have learned through the scope management today. When I say scope management, we learn through the flow of understanding the scope management plan. We understood the collection of requirements. After collecting the requirements, we understood we have to do the defined scope, and after that we created the WBS. So this we spent some time to understand how the work is getting decomposed, and when we do that, it is called as work package. So we had the goal here is to create a work package. So work package got ready here. Okay, that happened here. Now we do this, and we are expecting the team to do more on scheduling, which we'll discuss in next session, and then we'll discuss about the costing in another session, and quality. It will keep going on. And this work package will be given to the team, and the team will work here. Once the team work here, work get done and goes to quality department, and quality department verify it and give it to the customer, and customer verify it and close the project. Right? This is what we understood today. And also we understood something called control scope, where we keep an eye on the scope. Is it within the bracket or it's going out of it? If it is out of it, you have to bring it back. It is called a scope creep. Even Stephen confirmed that in his project also. It's always, we keep on watch on the scoping factor, right? And that will be the lesson for the day. Any questions to be addressed in this particular topic or the topic we discussed in previous session?
I'll be reading that chapter.
Okay, great. That's great. Okay, and a kind request, spend some time in this image. If you have, I think you should have this image with you in your PMBOK book. I would expect you to try writing it in a paper, in a white sheet. I know it is like school days, but still it is worth doing. If you write it in a sheet, you will get more clarity to understand the 5 process groups and 10 knowledge areas with clarity, right? Try it at least once so that you will get a grip of what you're learning. Cool. Any questions from you, Eric, specifically on subject? Anything you want to clarify?
No, I think I'm pretty good.
Good. Stephen, you are good on the subject. Anything to be clarified?
I think for now I'm good.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Shall we call it as a day today?
Sounds good to me.
Fantastic.
Sounds great to me too.
Yeah, Eric, it's a bit late for you, right? It should be 10 p.m. for you.
Yeah.
I know it's too late. Okay. How is it? This timing is good for you. Will it continue the same for tomorrow and day after tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Thursday might be a little, I may have a conflict or not. It depends on if my wife is talking to me at that time of the day.
Okay. Okay. You want to prepone or you want to postpone? How you want to do this timing?
No, well, let's we'll check in tomorrow night, and then
Right.
we'll
That's
figure it out.
That's good. I feel Stephen, this is comfortable. We'll proceed on the same.
I can do it anytime.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that. What I am planning is we will proceed on the same speed. And even if it is possible, we'll continue the same time for even Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if possible. You guys are good on that. So
Okay.
by Sunday you should say that I'm done with my course, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be too much of taxing. I am to take too many days with you. So we can even say by Sunday, yes, we are done. We are ready with the PMP. So that's the plan. Yeah, we'll shoot it. We'll shoot it faster, and we are going in a good speed, and we are learning a lot in it. So going forward, we'll go a bit more detailed and explain more on yes. So with this, we'll call it as a day, and I appreciate your time for being here, and it's good to share knowledge with you and listen to your experiences. So we will connect tomorrow, same time, right?
Sounds good.
Great. Great, Stephen. Enjoy dinner, sleep well, and Eric, take care. We'll catch up again.
Thanks, Sri. You have a good
All right,
night.
thanks.
You have a good night, Eric.
Thanks, you too.
Good
You
night.
too. You too.